Jungle. Ah!
Hello everyone, and welcome back to another edition of Blues Brews. My name is David, and I'll be taking you on this journey today. This part of the series that I do is part of my decks. The Blues Brews series, or series of videos, is the decks that I myself use. This one's a little different though, because this deck I actually don't use. This is actually a changeover from my girlfriend's original deck that she used to use, and I'm going to go over all that with you as I go through the deck. I chose for her, I made her a new deck from an old deck, and I chose Uril the Miststalker because she seems to like that whole voltron-esque style of deck. This deck originally came from a Aurelia the Warleader deck, which was a red-white deck. It was very mana intensive, very slow, and because those two colors, red and white, don't ramp very well, it ended up running into the problem of never being able to get off the ground. So I decided to change it all out, take it into Uril because it's the same colors but with added green. And what green does for this deck is it makes it so that it actually ramps quicker and actually can get going faster. And actually, the deck can run so well in the testing that I've done with it that it can actually commander damage somebody off the board on turn 4. I think that was the fastest that I got, was turn 4. I commander damaged somebody off the board. It was actually quite impressive. So, before I go into the deck and read everything about what Uril does, I got a couple things to get off. So, if you want to go ahead and skip this section, because this is where some information is going to be said, but it's not pertinent to the deck, I will go ahead and put in the description part. I will timestamp things so you can skip past this and then just go to the land section right off the bat. Okay, so a couple things I want to go over. I've already mentioned that this is actually my girlfriend's deck, so we'll go past that. I won't mention that again. I want to mention that I'm actually doing the color deck challenge, which is, I believe, a 32 deck color challenge. So I've mentioned it before, but I've never really gone into it. So I'm getting further into the challenge. So I'm going to actually start keeping track on the videos of where I am and what decks I've actually used or what color combinations I've used, and I'll have a little graphic up here that I'll update as we go. I'm going to start off with the what I already have, and then after this deck I will update it to add this color combination to it at the end. Okay, so just bear with me as I'm going through a new portion that I do for these videos. Second thing, I'm also along that lines losing, and this is a trigger warning for some people, so be wary. I'm losing my 5-color deck that I had, so I have to make a new one. So, what that means is that Golos was banned by the rules committee, so that takes my 5-color deck out of the color challenge. I am going to take that deck, I'm going to morph it a little bit and turn it into one of my 4-color decks that I don't have, which is going to use Omnath, the 4-color one. I had an idea for that deck already, and I was already starting it, but I don't like to repeat decks that much. And it was going to be similar to the Golos deck, but now that I can just remove the black and focus on it and do it that way, and I will show you guys that deck soon, but not like, it's not going to come up next week. I got to start working on it, I got to start taking cards out, and I will go ahead and update Golos, take him out, turn him into a 4-color Omnath deck, and then all will be good. As much as I hate the Golos banning, I actually liked that deck a lot. I did a lot of work on that deck. I understand why he was banned. He is quite powerful, but I mean, he wasn't hard to deal with. So, but that's just, be wary, trigger warning for some people who are not really fans of the rules committee and all that stuff. So, keep that in mind. I will be adjusting that deck to be a 4-color, and then I'm going to have to come up with a new 5-color commander. I have a feeling I'm going to do a sliver deck just because it's the easiest I can do, because I have a bunch of slivers. I don't have a Kenrith or a lot of the 5-color commanders I don't have. So that's my option that I'm going to go with. At least that's for now. That's my initial thought process. Okay? After that, I'm going to actually go into support. So I've been having some issues over the last couple of months getting product, and it's coming to a head to the point where I might not be able to continue doing the channel the way I want to do it. So I am actually going to do something I don't normally do, which is I'm going to ask for support in a bunch of different ways. Okay, The easiest and most free one is to like every video that I do, subscribe to the channel, and get me up to 1,000 subscribers, and then share the video out to other people so we can accomplish that goal. That I ask for every time. That kind of support is just a natural need. The other way I'm going to do it is a monetary support. I don't ask for money directly because I believe that that's just icky, okay? What I do is I create decks for beginners and intermediate players that I sell, and then I also sell mystery packs when I open up the boxes that I do. I have recently run into a problem where the avenues that I had available to me to sell them have become limited now. With the Christmas season coming up, this is where I usually make the money that I get for the year to support the channel. I've lost the avenues I had last year and previously the year before because I can't do conventions anymore. Something is going weird, wonky on the Facebook thing where it's not allowing orders to go through. I don't know why. I'm relegated to attempting to sell them through the YouTube channel. I have ways you can contact me if you would like to help support me in that way by buying some products that I have for sale, and I'll show you where to look for all the products I have for sale on my Facebook page, but I can't seem to sell them through there. And everything on the channel here, I tell you if I'm selling it. So if there's something you want to look at, I can show you the video, link you to the video, or you can find it for yourself. The other way that you can do it, and this is the one that I feel icky about. So I was going to start a Patreon account about a year ago. I don't like the way that they force me to have to charge a certain amount minimum. I wanted to do what I call a $1 per month subscription because I believe that if people want to support you, $1 isn't a lot and it won't hurt anybody in the long run, okay? Patreon doesn't allow you to do that. So if I'm going to start continuing to do the Patreon account with their parameters in place. But if you want to do something like $1 a month kind of thing, just as a support to me, my channel, and it's for a good cause because I have the MS, and so all of it goes down to me just creating the content for everybody. I can tell you how we can go about doing that. You just have to contact me, and the way to do that is through email only on that. So bluebearsgames@gmail.com. If you want to help support me in that way, go ahead and contact me that way. So that's all that is. I'm done with that section. Again, I've said it. You can skip this by using the timestamps that I'm going to put in the video. However, if you've gotten this far, that means that you're interested. And, I know that people want to support people. It's just the way we are as people. We like helping people. So if that's something you're interested in, please contact me. I would love the support. It's really helpful. And I know you guys want to do it. And girls and whatever. You all want to do it. So, all right. Other than that, let's get into the deck. So, sorry that took so long. So the deck that I made was Uril the Miststalker. So his colors are white, green, and red. You've probably been reading the card as I've been talking, so I'll still read it anyway. So it's a 5/5 for 5. He is a beast. That's actually helpful that he's a beast. This line here that says can't be the target of spells or abilities or opponents control now says hexproof because that's what it essentially is. He has hexproof. This is before hexproof. This card was made before hexproof was a keyword. And then he also gets +2/+2 for each aura attached to him. So you can see where that is. This is going to be straight up as best as I can make it with what I have available to me because I can't seem to get all the cards I ever need. Like I have a couple cards I want to change out into this deck. Haven't got them yet. I can't afford to buy them. Need to trade for them, and I don't really trust a lot of the trading going on because I've seen a lot of people complaining about not getting the stuff they were supposed to in trades. So I have to do an in-person trading kind of thing, and I don't have a chance to go out. I have the multiple sclerosis. So I try to stay away from people with the pandemic going on as much as possible. I also have a consistent cough, so people look at me weird. It has nothing to do with COVID. I have another problem going on that they haven't found out what it is, but I've been tested for the COVID, and I don't have it, but I can't get in front of people easily right now. So I'll get those cards eventually, but this is going to be a Voltron-style deck. Trust me on that, it will be Voltron. All right, so I always go over lands first. 3-color deck, so it's going to have a lot of non-basics. Not a lot of basics at all. So Command Tower is a must because it's 3-color. Risk Grove is the tri-land. That's the 3 colors of the deck. Jungle Shrine, another one that's 3 colors of the deck. The only downfall is it comes in play tapped. The Panorama is one of the styles of fetch lands that you can have for this color combination. There are 5 Panoramas. This one just happened to be this one's colors. Temple Garden is a shock land. Sun Petal Grove is the check land. Bountiful Promenade is the battle bond land or the bond land, so it comes into play tapped unless you have 2 or more opponents. Usually you're playing in a pod, not one-on-one, so that's relevant. Wooded Bastion is the filter land. I was so happy when Double Masters had them in there because I've never owned them before. Branchloft Pathway is the flip land. I forget what they call these now off the top of my head. Sorry, my MS has flared up because I've been having problems. I was up for 36 hours straight the other day in the hospital, so I'm a little loopy, so please bear with me. I can't remember what the name of these stupid cards are. Pathways. Sorry, it's on the card. Duh. Windswept Heath is the fetch land for green-white. Stomping Ground, the shock land for red-green. Rootbound Crag is the check land for red-green. Spire Garden, the bond land for red-green. The filter land. And that one's foily too, by the way. I just happened to get that one out of a pack. The Pathway for red-green as well. And then the fetch land for red-green. Now, I know that not everybody has dual lands. I happen to have this from a long time ago. Remember, have been playing since the beginning, so a lot of the ones that I didn't trade away before they got, put on the reserve list, I still kept a few. I have 5 black-blue ones, which are the Underground Seas. I had a couple of Plateaus. This was originally in her red-white deck, so of course it had to come over. The shock land, the check land, obviously is going to be helpful. Rugged Prairie, the filter land, and yes, that again is foil. The Pathway for red-white, and then the fetch land for red-white. So those are the non-basic color fixing lands that I had for all the colors to work out, and I've fishbowled this deck plenty of times to know that I can get the color consistently that I need. The reason why it was important that Uril was a beast is because of Contested Cliffs. He's going to get big. The good thing about Contested Cliffs is it taps data colors, so it's already at least a mana ability. And then for a red and a green, you can have a beast you control fight a creature your opponent controls. He's a beast, and he's going to be big. He may even be indestructible. He may be a lot of things because of the way that this deck works. He's able to single-handedly remove a lot of creatures from the board. Kessig Wolf Run, it's just to make him... It specifically is for him to get more power. Obviously, a target creature gets +X/+0, but the trample is the important part. Even if you make it 0... because it doesn't have to be more than 0. So you can just do red and green to give him trample, so he can trample over an opponent blocking him, so he can get commander damage in. That's what that's in there for. The Sunhome Fortress of the Legion, so it taps for colorless, and then for red, a white, and 2, target creature gains double strike, so his power is going to be at least 10 or 11 by the time you can first attack with him. You may even be able to commander damage somebody out with this in play and him attacking for the first time. The Slayer Stronghold, target creature gets +2/+0, Vigilance and Haste. So you're never really, unless you get like a nut draw, you're never going to be able to, on turn 4, be able to cast Uril, get some enchantments on him, and be able to give him haste and attack the turn he comes into play. You may be able to do some parts of that, but you won't be able to do it all. The reason why it's in here is for the Vigilance. So one of the things that I found a weakness of in here is that there are some creatures in here, but very few, and this makes Uril not tap to attack, and that's important because you want to have him sit back to be able to block too. And there are things that I have in here that make that very, very relevant. The Bonder's Enclave is in here for being able to draw a card. We're in color combinations that don't heavily draw cards, so any additional ways to draw cards, I'm gonna put it in here. I don't want to hear any complaints about me having gold border cards in here. I already showed everybody that I have like 5 wastelands or 6 wastelands in other decks. I just happen to have a bunch of gold border cards that are higher end cards. I don't feel like switching cards back and forth, so there are a couple in here you will see. One of them is the Wasteland. I like to have a land destruction card in each deck just in case there's a problematic land you need to get rid of. Rogue's Passage is a no-brainer. Making Uril unblockable is better than giving it trample, so making him unblockable is literally the only thing you're worried about. Reliquary Tower, because I do have a lot of ways to draw cards in here that the way that white does, and I know it sounds weird to hear that white gives you card draw, but it does. I'll show you how. So you're going to need something like this. I actually have another thing in here that does that too. And then, of course, a couple basic forests and plains. I don't have any mountains, and there's a reason for that. Some of this may change on the lands later. Again, I always will, I mention this, I'm going to be doing updated build videos for each of the decks that I have already done. because every set comes out with something that could be possibly beneficial for a deck I have. I've noticed that in this deck, it's possible that I could just run the green white and the green red lands and not have dual lands of red white, just based on the play I have. So that's something I'm going to look at as she plays it more, and I observe what she does with it. So those are the lands that I've chosen to start with for this deck. Now, the reason why I'm a fan of Uril above the original deck she had, other than the fact that it was slower, is because when you add green to a deck, you automatically gain the advantage of being able to go get land and ramp into things faster. That was the biggest issue that her original red-white deck had when Aurelia was in play. It literally took, I believe she's 6 to cast or 8 to cast, whatever her casting cost is, because of how slow it was. Other than a Soul Ring and an Arcane Signet, which when she had that deck, Arcane Signet was not a thing, she couldn't really ramp very well. Sure, she had a land tax. If you didn't get it within the first 5 turns, you didn't ramp. So here's what I've chosen to add. So obviously a Soul Ring. Always going to be a Soul Ring. An Arcane Signet, these, obviously. But the other thing I put in here was a Thought Vessel, because there are a lot of ways to draw cards in here and not a lot of ways to get your hand down to 7 that you'd like. Everything that you draw you want in this deck, because everything helps this deck that's in here. I have a tie that came over from the original deck. It's not really a land ramp so much as a mana fixing, because it only puts it in your hand, but technically it can be both, just because it can go get additional planes. So it goes and gets a planes, and then if you have less land than your opponent, you're going to be able to get an additional one. With the green being added to this, in her deck, when she originally started playing the red-white version, this deck actually always got 2 lands. Now that we've added green, it might not. We'll see how it plays out. But again, green gives us the ability to go ramp. So Farseek goes and gets a plains, island, swamp, or mountain. So in this deck, it would go get anything but the forest that she has. 3 visits to go get a forest. Obviously, that's the most important color to grab now, because we've really integrated green into the colors. Rampant Growth, a Nature's Lure for another grabber, and then for forest. And then Spoils of Victory, so you can go get a plains, an island, a swamp, mountain, or a forest and put it into play. So those are the ramp cards that I've chosen for this deck. It did not have this option before when it was just red-white. So that's going to be very helpful to start off and be able to get Uril into play. So if you turn 1 Soul Ring, turn 2 some Land Searcher like Nature's Lure, or 3 visits, you're already at 5 by the time your 3rd turn comes into play. That's how you can play Uril. You just have to make sure you go get the dual lands that make the colors correct for Uril to be cast. All right, creature section. Not a lot, as you can see. It's not very thick here. And if you'll notice, these sleeves are older than dirt. These are actually from the original sleeves released all the way back in the late 90s, early 2000s. I can't remember specifically. But she's been using these ever since, because they're just nice and clean. Even for white, they're pretty nice looking and clean. So every creature is going to have an effect on something with enchantments, for the most part. Or they're going to be an enchantment themselves, and you'll see that later. So Verduran Enchantress, so whenever you play an enchantment, you draw a card. Nylea, so why I said that they're enchantments is because they themselves can't count as enchantments when they're played. So they play off of the enchantment drawing engine that's in here. It also helps because it's indestructible. It's a 6/6 itself, so in case Uril is targeted too much, you can go the route of using one of your indestructible legend or gods, and then it buffs as well if need be and gives your creatures trample. So Eidolon of Blossoms, again, it's an enchantment itself. When it comes into play, you draw a card, and when you play an enchantment, you draw a card. So you see where I'm going. There's a lot of these in here. SRAM, we all know SRAM, so whenever you play an aura, equipment, or vehicle, you draw a card. Core Spirit Dancer, now I understand that this is used in some different versions. This one's not going to be used to actually make the Voltron. This is actually here because it's whenever you cast an aura spell, you draw a card. Mason Enchantress, again, whenever you cast an enchantment, draw a card. Ketis, Emberclaw Familiar. Now, this one's in here because I understand that the only time that commander damage happens is when the actual commander deals combat damage. So his ability doesn't cause combat commander damage, okay? But Uril can get big enough to do 40 damage himself quickly. So with Kedis in play, he deals damage to everybody. So I'll read it. It says whenever a commander you control deals damage, so that would be Uril, deals combat damage to an opponent, deals that much damage to each other opponent, you get where that's going. It's obvious that that's in there for that reason. And he's foily. Ephemerith Enchantress, so whenever an enchantment is put into your graveyard from the play, you draw a card. More draw cards. This is a new addition. I just happened to open this recently. I added this the other day because you need more card draw in red-white. Whenever you cast an enchantment spell, you may gain a life. Or I'm sorry, you do gain a life and draw a card. Not may, you have to. Satyr Enchanter, so whenever you cast an enchantment spell, draw a card again. I know it sounds redundant. It's supposed to be. Iros, the God of Victory, so another indestructible creature, so you can still try to pull off your Voltron style, even though it won't be commander damage. But, I mean, his power is a 7 right off the bat. So he's 4 to cast. He's a 7/4. He's indestructible. He's not a creature unless you have X amount of devotion. It's on there. And then creatures you control can't be blocked except by 2 or more creatures. That is now called Menace. It was keyworded in to be Menace for the most part. And then prevent all damage that would be dealt to attacking creatures you control. So even though he's indestructible, not everything else is. And that includes Uril himself. Tiana, ship's caretaker, is a 5 to cast 3/3. It has flying and first strike. It's not there for that. So whenever an aura or equipment you control is put into a graveyard from the battlefield, you may return that card to its owner's hand at the beginning of the next end step. So if one of your creatures that's enchanted dies, you can get the enchantments back at least, which creates more drawing depending on what you have on the board. And then the final creature is Xenagos, God of Revels. And yeah, this is the Secret Lair version. It's a 6/5 indestructible for 5. The devotion thing, you can read that. And then at the beginning of combat on your turn, another target creature you control gains haste and gets +X. +X is on a turn. What X is that creature's power? Can you imagine how big Uril gets then? So those are the creatures that I've chosen to start with. And I'm sure as new sets get released and things happen and I acquire new cards, some of those will change, but not many. So the Voltron part of that, this aspect is coming now. This is where all the aura enchantments go. I'm just going to read off the ones that I chose for now. There are some that I don't have. One of the most important ones is being the 2 to cast enchantment that you can only enchant an enchanted creature, and it gets +3/+3 and a whole lot of other stuff. I don't have it. I'll actually put up here the one that I'm missing that I want the most, and then we'll go over what I do have. So 6 cents for helping to draw cards. Vineweft, the reason I chose this and ones like it are because it returns from your graveyard to your hand so you can recast them. That helps with, if Uril dies, it helps with if you have a lot of things that you draw cards for casting enchantments and you need to draw cards. It's a repeatable way to do that. Rancor is just godly. I mean, it gives a +2/+0 on trample. And then if it goes to the graveyard from the battlefield, you get it back. Keen Sense for more card draw. Talons of the Wildwood, again, for the fact that it returns back to your hand if it's in the graveyard. Snake Umbra for more card draw, and it has Totem Armor. Ancestral Mask, because it's basically Uril's ability on an enchantment. Grist Boon, again, because it returns to your hand if it's for some reason in the graveyard. So, the other thing that those ones that return do is if for some reason you don't have anything that can make your hand stay bigger than what that you don't have a maximum hand size and you happen to go above the maximum number and you have to discard things. These are great to discard because you can get them back later when your mana is better. Ethereal Armor is just pretty much king when it comes to putting in auras on creatures for Voltron. Spirit Mantle, the reason why this is in there is because the protection from creatures means that it can't be blocked. All That Glitters, the other half of the Ethereal Armor is All That Glitters, so the creature gets +1/+1 for each artifact and or enchantment you control. And so what that means is that the mana rocks that are in here also help you make Uril bigger. Indestructibility, and yes, that's foiled because, well, him being an indestructible and untargetable kind of leaves everybody, out to dry. They can't do anything about him. There are so few things left you can do to Uril once that's in play. Sarah's Embrace is one of the ones that may get changed out later for some of the ones I'm missing. This one gives it +2/+2 flying and vigilance. The only reason why I haven't taken it out is because that vigilance is extremely important. Angelic Destiny, another one of those ones that it may come out. Gives it +4/+4 flying, first strike, and becomes an angel. And then when the enchanted creature dies, you can return Angelic Destiny to its owner's hand. It's in here because it comes back, and that's the only reason. Unflinching Courage, because it gives a +2/+2 and Trample and Lifelink. And then, of course, its brother, Armadillo Cloak. Shield of the Oversoul. So you get both if the creature is both colors, and obviously in Commander, you can't play these if they don't match colors. So it'll get +1/+1 twice, it'll get Indestructible, and it'll get Flying. So, and then the last aura that I have in here is Runes of the Deuce. So it'll get +1/+1 twice, it'll get Double Strike, which is so great with Uril, and then Trample. So those are the ones I have for now. There are a couple that are missing that I'd like to get, that I just haven't ever owned in my life, just because I've been unlucky with what I've pulled from packs. But again, that'll be on the updated video for this deck as I get things. Next up is Utility / Destruction or Defense. This is the cards that I'm going to use to help make sure that when she's playing it, she can, I guess, clear the board of things and get rid of problematic things on the board. So Path to Exile is first. It exiles a creature. Sure, they go get a land, but who cares? With Uril in play, who cares? And then obviously Swords to Plowshare. The reason why these two is because they exile things, so it actually takes care of things like Indestructible. It takes care of Eldrazi. It gets rid of commanders. I mean, it does. They both do a lot. Darksteel Mutation. This one makes me laugh a lot. I loll at this so much. So you put it on somebody's commander, and they literally have to have a sack outlet, or they're just screwed, and their commander is useless for most of the game, usually. Divine Reckoning, because, you know, each player chooses a creature they control and then destroy the rest. So your whole point of this is to only have Uril in play and just commander damage somebody off the board. So if you can destroy everything but one thing, and Uril is your thing you keep, and it has flashback. So you can do it more than once. So that's the whole plan to this, is to make the focal point Uril. I understand that you shouldn't do that, but in a Voltron deck, that's what they do. Winds of Wrath, same thing. Destroy all creatures that are enchanted. For the most part, people don't play a lot of... they play equipment more than they play auras, unless they're playing a Voltron deck. So Winds of Wrath should clear the board of everything but Uril. I say should. Some people play some weird stuff. Same thing with single combat. So it destroys everything. It says each player chooses a creature or planeswalker they control, and then sacrifices the rest. So same thing as Divine Reckoning. So you choose one thing, and then the good part is that, so when that happens, it also says players can't cast creatures or planeswalker spells until the end of your next turn. So you have a whole round of people not being able to play anything. Wear and Tear, because it can destroy either an artifact or an enchantment, or both, because it has Fuse. So, and then Hull Breach. So you get to choose one. You can destroy an artifact or an enchantment, or an artifact and an enchantment. I like having these two in here because you can do both. You can kill multiple things, and in a multiplayer game that's more relevant. Sometimes a disadvantage of things being able to do more than one thing is that you have to fulfill all the requirements of the card. Well, these are flexible enough that you don't. So those are the defensive cards I've chosen for this deck for her. This is all utility stuff, so this is like a wide range of different things that are utility for the deck. Obviously a Swiftfoot Boots, because, I mean, I know that he has hexproof already. It's in here for the haste ability, but it also is to help save your other creatures that help you draw cards or do other things. You kind of need some flexibility with that. Just because he has hexproof doesn't mean that everybody else does that's in the deck. Dolmen Gate, prevent all combat damage that would be dealt to attacking creatures you control. That's obviously so that, you know, Uril doesn't die when attacking. That's the whole point of that. Leyline of Sanctity, when it's in your opening hand, it's great. When it's not, it's a little subpar. This may come out, but it gives you hexproof as well. So that's kind of important so that you can't be the target of things as well. Sigarda's Aid is in here so that you can cast your auras as instants. So, you know, when you're attacking with something, somebody may just let the damage go through. They shouldn't, but they may just let it go through because it's only 5, and then you have a whole hand of auras that you can put on them, so they don't block it, and then you just cast them all, and then you can commander damage somebody out as a surprise. With this out, I would hope they wouldn't do that, but you'd be surprised. Again, another gold border card, because I have only got 4 Unlightened Tutors that are foil. I don't have more than that, so I have the gold border version. If anybody has a problem, I'll just switch in one of my other, I think 16 of them. I just don't happen to have another one of these. In Black Border, goes and searches for an artifact or enchantment. Obviously, we know what that does. Same thing with Idyllic Tutor. It goes and gets an enchantment, but this one puts it in your hand, which is what makes this a little bit more important. Open the armory, search for an aura or equipment, put it in your hand. See where I'm going here. These are my searchers. This is my utility here. Going to get the thing you need. Every time you play, something different is going to be needed. Sometimes you need trample. Sometimes you need lifelink because you need the life. Who knows? So that goes and gets whatever you need. Sphere of Safety is more for defensive purposes, but because you're playing so many enchantments, this is a no-brainer. So creatures can't attack you or a planeswalker you control unless their controller pays X for each of those creatures where X is the number of enchantments you control. I don't know how many enchantments total are in here. I think it's 30 or 35. So that's a pretty hefty price to pay. Same thing with Norn's Annex. It's in here because some people pay the life. They don't have white and they want to attack you, so they'll pay the life, and that's just an added bonus. Regrowth is one of those cards that may come out just for other things. It's in here for utility, so you can get back something that you need to get back from your graveyard. Smoke, another one of those things where because your whole plan here is to just attack with one creature, so each player can only untap one creature during his or untap phase. So that kind of helps prevent people from being able to just all-out attack with token strategies, because that's one of the weaknesses here, is you being overwhelmed by a token strategy because you only have few creatures and no other ways to make them. There's ways to counter that too other than that, but I didn't choose that now. War Cadence is like the opposite of all the ones that say you can't attack unless you pay X. So it's now creatures can't block unless their controller pays X. Insurrection is kind of a secondary outlet of winning. So if the board is clogged everywhere, Insurrection basically gives you all their creatures. There is no sack outlet here, so they're going to get them back. There is no reason to have a sack outlet in a Voltron deck. This is just in here for funsies. It was in the original deck she played, and in that deck it was an extra turns combat deck, so it was really nasty if she got the mana up finally. She would take everybody's creatures and wow, did everybody suffer. But it gives you everybody's creature for a turn, and just do what you will with them. Sterling Grove is defensively for your own enchantments, so they all now have Shroud. This is not hexproof, so you can't target them either. No reason to worry about that. It gives them all Shroud. And then the secondary part to Sterling Grove is that you can sacrifice it to go search for an enchantment if you really need to find something. This is a in case of emergency, break glass kind of ability, because Sterling Grove is kind of there to help keep your enchantments safe, at least from being targeted. And then Dueling Grounds, another one of those, single combat things where you're focused on having just the one creature. So no more than one creature may attack each turn, and no more than one creature may block each turn. This pisses off a lot of people when it comes to token strategies. I'm a token strategy person myself, so it pisses me off when it gets played. Swarm decks that like to just play a lot of say slivers. Only being able to attack and block with one thing takes away combat entirely. So those are my utility things that I have in here for her. I have one planeswalker in here, and that's Hammond's. So it's Calyx, Destiny's Hand. It's a newer card. It has 4 loyalty and it's 4 to cast, so that's always great. Its uptick is to look at cards from your top of your library, and then I believe it's an enchantment card you can put into your hand, so that's obviously why it's in there. Its minus ability is exile a creature or enchantment you don't control, and then that's until target enchantment you control leaves the battlefield, so all your enchantments now can become, Fiend Hunters or Oblivion Rings, if you will. And then its ultimate is to return all enchantment cards from your graveyard to the battlefield. So you can see where that's going. There's a lot of enchantments in here. So that's the reason why Calyx was chosen. I didn't have room for many others, and I looked at them, I didn't really see anything I really cared for. And then the last thing is going to be the Infinite that comes with almost every deck I make for myself and apparently for other people that play with me. So this is kind of known, but there is an infinite attack strategy that you can use. The original deck that she played was extra attacks, but because it didn't play green at the time, remember the deck that originally came from this deck came from was built in 2000 and I think 13, and was never updated over the years. It just she didn't care. I did, and I wanted her to have more fun. She kind of stopped playing because the deck just stopped being fun, but this is the infinite combo. Bear Umbra and Aggravated Assault. Now, I could have put a version of this into her deck. There was a sword that was made more recently that could do it, but basically, Bear Umbra says that when this creature attacks, untap all lands you control. An Aggravated Assault for 5, you can basically give yourself another combat phase. So all you need in play is 5 lands, which you should have if you have Uril out, or at least be able to untap 5 things like that provide 5 mana and keep attacking over and over and over again, and basically that wins you the game. So that's the infinite combo that I gave her to use. I haven't had her play the deck yet. I've been testing it to see how it plays. She will get to play it eventually. She hasn't been excited about Magic in a while, unfortunately, just because the deck she had, it really did not do well. I used to do, when I first started the channel, a before and after series on my commander decks that I did that were from 2013. I used to do that. I didn't do one on her deck because the deck was just, back in 2013, it actually wrecked house. Red-White has not really gotten anything to help it over the years, but nobody saw it coming half the time when she played. It was just, damage people off the board with combat, and she would, just take over a game because of things that made all of her stuff indestructible, gave everybody's creatures -2/-2 with, what's her name? I can't remember her name off the top of my head, the Angel, and all of her stuff got +2/+2, and it used to work back in the day. Red-White has not gotten much to help it since, so I had to pivot her deck into adding green into it and giving her a more, same idea, combat-oriented deck, but focus it Voltron and put green into it so that it could go and ramp into things and make it a little bit more powerful, since we all know green's the most powerful color in Commander now. Some would argue it's blue. Blue-green together is. I think it's blue, but green has really shown its true colors of being powerful. So that is my my version of Uril, the Miststalker. This is I believe it's Naya Colors deck, and it's not for me, it's for my girlfriend, but it's the same deal. We all play the decks I make, so it doesn't really matter. As far as the 32 color challenge goes, I'm going to go ahead right now, and I'm going to update what that list looks like. If you want to pause the video and see where I'm at with it, I'm getting there. I'm still, I'm having an easier time doing 3 color decks or 3 color decks over the 2 color decks, because some of the commanders for 2 color just suck. I don't know why they suck so bad, but the 3 color ones are so much more fun to make. I guess it's just because of the diversity that you can have with 3 colors. And the 4 color is hard because 4 color decks need a lot of mana fixing, and because I already have so many decks made, it's hard to get the lands to mesh up well, just because I've already used a lot of them for the 2 color and 3 color decks I have. So I'm going to get working on this list. I have a whole bunch. If I usually mention the decks that are going to fit that color wheel for the challenge that I'm in the process of making. If you want to know what they are, you can ask me. I'll let you know what else I'm working on to fit that 32 color challenge. But for now, that's the updated list of what I have, what colors. The only problem is that this list shows that I have a 5 color deck, and I'm going to keep that in place until I figure out if I can make the sliver deck, and then I'll just do the sliver deck and do the video on that, and then just keep the graphic the way it is, because I don't feel like changing it just because they banned Golos. So anyway, that is my time for the week. I apologize it was so long, but I had to get a couple things out. If you want to skip the first couple minutes just to get into the deck, you can. Even though we're already at the end of the video and you probably have already watched it, so whatever. Anyway, do me the favor, I asked for some support at the beginning of the video. I'm going to ask for it again, but in a different way. I'm going to ask you to like the video. Those help my analytics. That helps me get more visible on the main page of YouTube. So that's a quite helpful thing for me. Subscribe to the channel if you have not done so already. I don't understand why you wouldn't. You guys love me. You all love me. Trust me, you do. I'm pretty straightforward about things. I'm very honest about things. I'll even tell you when I screw things up. I'll even make fun of myself on my videos when I do. So you're going to love it. Trust me. I'm a blast to talk to as well. So I'm much better than those corporate guys that sit there, I'm looking at you, TCC, and whatever that other guy with the bad hair and mustache that looks like a pedophile. Anyway, I didn't say that. So again, subscribe to the channel. It doesn't cost you anything. Other than the fact that I'm doing a daily pack opening video, I don't really post a lot. I post once a week. Except for the next year, I made a promise that I open a pack a week, so that'll get a little annoying if your feed keeps dinging, but it's only one video a day. And then, go from there and share the video out. That's the last thing I ask you to do. Share the video out to anybody who may be looking to build this deck, may like to just watch deck build videos for Commander, or just wants to help support somebody who's disabled and this is all they have, and just really wants to try to get their message out there of helping people play Magic and enjoy it. So that's all I got for now. I thank you for watching. Please, enjoy the rest of your week, and I will see you all tomorrow for a daily pack opening video, but next week if that's not your thing. So have a good one.